Hey, what's up, guys? Good to be back with you here again, and welcome back to 1908. We've got the Senators of the Highlanders here for another one. As we move through the season, we're up to April 21st. Let's see what we have going on here. Jim Delahanty to start this one up for the Senators. He rolls a 16 for a 26. That's a ground ball over to Niles, the second base. He throws to first for the out, one away. Here's Clyde Milan. He rolls a 45 for a 14, and there's a walk, and he's got a little less, which means he steals second base as the next batter's up there. You've seen a lot of the Highlanders recently because they're 5-1, including Hal Chase over there in first base. So we'll see if there's anything interesting involving him. There usually is in one of these games. Up now is Jerry Freeman. He rolls a 62 for a 12, and that's a strikeout with the runner on second base, and there's two outs now. Here's Bob Ganley. Bob up there hitting 100, so I do need to mess around a little bit with some of these lineups and maybe change a few things. Not a great show there for the Senators. Bob rolls a 22 for an 8. That's a ground ball back to Manning. Throws to first for the out. We go to the bottom of the first inning. Charlie Hemphill will be up there for the Highlanders. Charlie rolls a 23 for a 32. There's a fly out over to right field, and it is Pickering who has it for the out. Went away. Wee Willie Keeler now rolls a 24 for a 13. That is a strikeout. Two outs now. Strikeout number 3 in the season for Bill Burns, first of the day. Here's Harry Niles, and he rolls a 22 for an 8, and that's a little fly out over to center field, and Milan's going to get that for the out. Go to the top of the second. Here's Pickering. He rolls a 22 for an 8, and that's a ground ball over to the shortstop. Ball's got it, throws to first for the out, one out, and here's Bill Shipka. Shipka up there rolls a 55 for a 9, and there's a single over shortstop. It's the first hit of the ball game. That brings up George McBride, and I think we are going to bunt here, even though it's very, very early. The roll is a 21 for a 30, and that's a good bunt over to the left-hand side to Conroy, and he picks it up, throws over to Niles, the second baseman covering first. Shipka moves up to second. Two outs now, and Gabby Street up there. He rolls a 22 for an 8, and that's a comebacker over to the pitcher Manning, throws to first for the out. We go to the bottom of the second. Hal Chase up there now. He rolls a 15 for an 11. That's a single, and then Chase steals second base as Stahl is up there. Runner on second base here for the Highlanders. Bottom of the second inning. First hit of the game for them. And Stahl rolls a 45 for a 14. He gets the walk, and that brings up Neil Ball now. Runners on first and second in a critical situation. And we're going to bunt here. Again, it's early. Let's see what happens. It rolls a 14 for a 43. We do have a little E to worry about. Oops, I'm going to do that one again. That would have been within the range. The final roll is a 46. That's a little bunt back to Burns, the pitcher. Throws over to first base to Delahanty, Jim Delahanty, rather, covering first for the out. And here's Whit Conroy with runners on second and third. Only one out, and we're going, we want the infield in. We don't want to bunt here with Whit. And the roll is a 33 for a 7, and that's a single that scores both runners, and Conroy will wind up on second base. And so the Highlanders up big so far, 2-0. Doesn't seem so big, but it is 1908, believe me. Walter Blair up there now rolls a 42 for a 13. That's a strikeout, second strikeout of the game for Bill Burns, and that brings up the pitcher Manning, Rube Manning up there, and he rolls a 23. And that's a little 32. That's a fly ball over to right field for Pickering, and he makes the catch for the out. We go to the top of the third inning, and here is Bill Burns. Bill Burns, a pitcher, rolls a... all right, just a second. We had this freeze again. This is going to take a little second, just a sec. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. It's been happening a lot lately. Now, the roll here for Burns, if I can get my mouse over there, there we go, was a 62 for a 12. Here we go. We should have a little E-roll. And let's see what happens with this roll. It's an 11, which is within the range, and that changes that roll to a 21. That's an error on the first baseman Freeman, and Burns goes over to first. And here comes Jim Delahanty. I thought I had this issue with the freezing solved because I was playing around with some of the settings here in VirtualBox, and apparently it didn't fix it. There are a lot of people online who complain about this issue, not a lot of solutions. This is what happens when you use proprietary software instead of stuff that's completely free and open source. So we'll see what we can do. If worst comes to worst, I may have to do a little bit of fiddling around to save everything. Kind of hard when both programs are Windows programs. That's another frustration to talk about another time. Here's Jim Delahanty. And Jim rolls a 55 for a 7, and that's a base hit, and sends Bill Burns up to second base here with nobody out. And Washington is starting to rally a little bit. Clyde Milan now up here with runners in first and second, and this is the top of the Senators' order. He rolls a 22 for an 8. That's going to be a base hit that scores 1. And just like that, the score is 2-1 Highlanders, and Washington has the chance to have something big in this inning. Nobody out. Runners still on first and second, as is going to be Jerry Freeman coming up there now. We'll see how this works. We'll see how Manning pitches here. There we go. We'll see if Manny can pitch his way out of this one. It's kind of a tricky moment. And of course, we're going to swing away with Jerry Freeman. We're not going to think about bunting, not with a number 3 hitter up. He rolls a 46 for a 29. That's a comebacker over to Rube Manning. Throws to first base, and the runners advance a base each. So now there are runners on second and third with only one out. And here is Bob Gainley once again hitting 095. Not very good so far this year. He rolls a 51 for a 9, and that's a fly ball over to right field at Keeler. And Keeler makes the catch, and one runner scores. The other one moves to third. We have a tie ball game just like that. And there you have it. Gainley able to produce here in the early going, and that's the way that it works. It's the way that we have it sometimes. And these Senators, who are not hitting very well, are still able to score that run. That's why it's important to get the bat on the ball. Pickering rolls a 32 for a 26. That is a ground ball over to second base. Niles throws to first for the out, and we go to the bottom of the third inning. Charlie Hemphill will lead this off for New York. Hemphill rolls a 41 for a 28. That's a ground ball over to McBride. Throws to first for the out. One away. Here's Willie Keeler. He will roll a 15 for an 11. That's a single, and then he will steal second base as Harry Niles is up there. One out now, and Keeler on at second base for Niles. And he rolls a 52 for a 27. That's a quick ground ball over to Shipka at third. Throws to first for the out. Two away. Here's Hal Chase. Chase rolls a 23 for a 32. That's a fly ball over to Pickering at right field. We go to the top of the fourth inning. Bill Shipka up there now. He rolls a 56 for a 34. Gives us a little E-roll. It's 52. It's out of the range. Shipka hits a little pop-up over to Ball, the shortstop, for the first out. And here's George McBride. He rolls a 13 for a 14 and takes his base. That brings up Gabby Street with a runner on at first. The roll is a 63 for a 30, and that's a little fly ball over to Gainley in left field. Two away rather. Here's Bill Burns, the pitcher. Rolls a 12 for a 25, and that's a little ground ball over to second base. And that's Delahanty who has it, flips over to McBride for the out. We go to the bottom of the fourth inning. Jake Stahl up there now rolls a 25 for a 10. And that's a single to center for Stahl. I think I actually read that wrong. That should have been Niles to Ball there for the end of that one. It always screws me up when you have the third out and the other team becomes yellow. It kind of takes my attention away a little bit. Neil Ball up there now rolls a 21 for a 30. It's a fly ball to Gainley for the first out. And we've got Wood Conroy up there now. Runner still on first base. And Wood hits a 44 for an 8. Ends up being a ground ball over to Shipka. The third baseman throws to first for the out. Two away. And here is Blair. Walter Blair rolls an 11 for a 0. And then the next roll is a 14 for an 11. And that's a single that will score the run, and Blair will be able to steal a base as Manning gets up there. So big rally here by the Highlanders in the bottom of the fourth inning, it's a 3-2 score now for them. And boy, this is kind of exciting. Just like most of these 1908 games, no team is quite able to really pull out ahead. It's sort of back and forth and back and forth. Roll for Manning now is a 15 for a 9. And there's a single over second, and unfortunately, Blair's a slow runner, which means that Milan's throw down to Street is in time to get him, and it will remain a 3-2 ball game up here in the top of the fifth as Jim Delahanty comes up. He rolls a 51 for an 8, and that's a single to left center field, and that brings up Clyde Milan. Milan rolls a 66 for a 0. And a 34 for a 7. And so all he gets out of his double column adventures is a little single sending the runner to second base. Nobody out here, top of the fifth inning, and runners on first and second here for Jerry Freeman. He rolls a 41 for a 28. That's going to be a ground ball over to Ball. He flips over to Niles. They look for the double play, can't quite get it. Delahanty lumbers over to third. Freeman's able to beat that one out. And here's Bob Gainley now with runners on first and third and only one out. He rolls a 21 for a 30. That's a fly ball quiet over to Gainley in left field. Two away. Here's Pickering. And Pickering rolls a 66 for a 0. And a 42 for a 6. That's a double that will clear the bases. And we have one of those games on our hands. Man, this is one of those seesaw back and forth adventures as the score now is 4-3 Senators as Pickering clears the bases with that 2-run scoring double here in the top of the fifth inning. And this one has been back and forth and back and forth. I did a couple of games off camera before this one, and we had a lot of back and forth action there too, which you'll read about when we get to him. Bill Shipka up there rolls a 35 for a 39. It changes to a 37, and that's going to wind up being a little ground ball over to shortstop. And it's Ball who gets it, throws over to first for the out. We go to the bottom of the fifth inning, and here's Charlie Hemphill. He rolls a 65 for a 35. That's a pop-up. Shipka's got it for the first out. Here is Wee Willie Keeler. He rolls a 34 for a 44 for a fly ball over to Milan in center field, 2 out. Niles up there, and he rolls a 65 for a 35. That's a pop-up over to Freeman on the right side, and he makes the catch. We go to the top of the 6th. George McBride now rolls a 55 for a 9, and that's a pop-up over to the left side. Conroy has it for the first out. Gabby Street rolls a 12 for a 24, and we have a little E roll to worry about, and it's a 34 out of the range. That means it's a ground ball over to Ball, the shortstop, who makes the play, throws to first for the out, and with 2 away, here's Bill Burns. He rolls a 12 for a 25. That's a ground ball again over to Niles. This time, second baseman throws over to first for the out. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning, still 4-3 Senators. Hal Chase will lead this one off. Rolls a 12 for a 24. That's a ground ball over to McBride, the shortstop. Throws to first for the out, 1 away. Jake Stahl now rolls a 62 for a 12. That's a little ground ball over to Freeman. Does it himself at first. 2 outs, and here's Neil Ball, and he rolls a 12 for a 24. That is a ground ball to McBride, the shortstop, who throws to first for the out. Top of the 7th now. Here's Jim Delahanty. Rolls a 24 for a 31. That's a fly ball to center field, and Hempel's got it for the first out, and Clyde Milan is next. Rolls a 41 for a 28. That's a ground ball to short. Ball has it. Throws to first for the out. 2 away. Jerry Freeman now. Rolls a 21 for a 30, and that's a fly ball over to Stahl, the left fielder. And it's kind of quieted down. You can imagine here that at Hilltop Park, that the sun here in the afternoon has gone down a little bit, and so you probably have those shadows, which is why the hitters are not hitting so well. Wood Conroy up there rolls a 24 for a 13. That's a strikeout. He's the first out here, bottom of the 7th inning. Here's Walter Blair. He rolls again at 24 for a 13, 2 of those in a row, and there's another strikeout. Strikeout number 4 for Bill Burns in this game. And Rube Manning now is up. He rolls a 33 for a 7. There's a base hit, and that has a runner on first base now for Charlie Hemphill. And Hemphill rolls a 23 for a 32. That's going to be a pop fly over to Milan in center field. Makes the play for the 3rd out. We go to the top of the 8th, and up comes Bob Gainley. 4-3 game Senators. Gainley rolls a 22 for an 8, and there's a single to left center field. Only hit number 7 for Washington in this one. That brings up Ollie Pickering. We're going to take a look at that Gainley card, and yeah, we can do a little hit and run action. Let's see what happens. Rolls a 31 for a 14, and Gainley is able to steal, despite the fact that's a strike, actually not a ball. You don't get much for your money with the hit and run play here. Pickering's still up there. Gainley now on second base after the stolen base, still nobody out, and the roll now is a 55 for an 8, and that's a single that will score the runner, and Pickering is thrown out trying to steal. So it's now 5-3 Senators. Here's Bill Shipka. Rolls a 43 for a 29. That's a comeback over to Manning. Throws to first for the out, 2 away. And here's George McBride. McBride rolls a 54 for a 45. We have a little E roll. That's a 13. That's within the range, and that means that McBride will be on first base after the error by Manning, bringing up Gabby Street. Rolls a 25 for a 9. That is a ground ball over to Conroy, who makes the play over to Chase at first for the out. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning, but it's 5-3 now Senators, and Bill Burns is looking pretty good. First up is Wee Willie Keeler, rolls a 32 for a 26. That's going to be a ground ball over to Delahanty. Throws to first for the out, 1 away. Harry Niles up now, hitting 296, and the roll is a 61 for a 13. That's a strikeout, and that brings up Hal Chase, hitting a woeful 160 so far, 154 on base percentage. He must have been betting against his own team. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that part. Chase rolls a 54 for a 45, and that's a fly ball over to Pickering in right field. He makes the play for the out. We go to the top of the 9th. Bill Burns up there now. Bill Burns rolls a 15 for a 10. He gets the base hit in this excellent pitching performance by him. Hit number 9. And Burns, I think, let's take a look here and see. He was on an error and then was on a fielder's choice and the single. So he's 1 for 2 in this game. Been on base 3 times. Jim Delahanty rolls a 33 for a 7, and that's a base hit. That brings up Clyde Milan, runners on first and second in a situation as I'm knocking the dice holder all the way over the table. Situation that New York doesn't really want to be in. Here's Clyde Milan. And the rolls a 33 for a 7, and that scores 1. And actually, no, that does not score 1 because Burns is a slow runner, so Stahl is able to throw him out. The left fielder throws over to Blair. They make the play. Milan able to move up to second base, though. Runners now on second and third for Jerry Freeman, but with 1 out, and the Highlanders just hanging in there. Roll here is a 32 for a 26. We're playing the infield deep with the 2-run lead for the Senators, and that's going to be a ground ball over to Niles. Throws over to first for the out. That will score 1, though 6-3 now Senators, with Milan on third base and Bob Gainley up there. He rolls a 12 for a 24. That's a little ground ball over to Ball. Throws to first base for the out, and we go to the bottom in the 9th inning. Jake Stahl will lead this off. Burns looking for the complete game. Stahl rolls a 42 for a 41. Changed over to 23, and that's going to be a swinging bunt that goes down to Gabby Street, who throws wildly to first base. That allows Stahl to get on. That's a way to start it off, but you need 3 runs. You need a whole bunch of those. Neil Ball now rolls a 62 for a 12, and that's a ground ball over to McBride. Flips it to Delahanty for 1, over to Freeman at first for 2. That's the big double play. And here's Whit Conroy, the last hope. Conroy rolls an 11 for a 0, and the next roll is a 41 for an 8. That's a single to left center, and this game stays alive. At least one more at bat, as it is Walter Blair up there. Blair 1 for 3 today. He rolls a 62 for a 12, and that's a little ground ball over again to Delahanty. Flips to McBride for the out. And there you have it. The Senators win out in this one 6-3. A lot of offense, 19 hits combined between the two teams. Again, not necessarily what you'd expect from 1908, but that's kind of the way it works. Final score in this one is Senators 6, Highlanders 3, and I'll see you tomorrow with another one. Bye-bye.